Get my dollar trade playbook to learn how to position, profit, and protect during a dollar devaluation. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Let me show you what I do use on the gold market. There are a few things. First, macro. Macro is always my backdrop. So when this started to get busy, actually, was November of 2023, Fed pause and Yellen Yahtzee. So Fed, after basically this rate hiking regime, said, okay, we're going to pause now. And the market loved that. And Yellen came out and said, we're not going to issue any longer duration notes and bonds to finance this growing fiscal deficit. We're just going to issue short duration. So long story short, this fiscal excess that they were financing, gold responds really well to. So then we had a kind of a consolidation period. Under the surface, there was lots of accumulation. There was macro also coming in. This is my backdrop, first and foremost, not RSI. Coming in saying, okay, guess what? China is hoarding gold. We can see this accumulation going on. Why? Because they're settling outside of the dollar and the petrodollar and using gold for settlement. So long story short, there has to be this macro backdrop. Okay, that's the big picture, but that doesn't really time entries and exits. So I have other tools for that. My intermarket analysis, and I'm just going to show you a few things. This is one where gold silver ratio, my version, came in, and this is to kind of talk about this on a monthly. So I know, big picture, but this is why I'm going to get at why it's so important to me and why you're worried about it being an overbought, and I'm not. So yes and no, meaning it's a trend that is in play, and they have like train, and not just a train that's empty, but all of its cargo hulls are filled, and it's just not going to come to a stop. It's going to need miles to come to a stop. It's got to slow and then come to a stop. It's too fully loaded. So I don't think this is a bad analogy, if a metaphor, if truth be told, but this is the chart that I had, which is a gold silver ratio, and it basically bottomed in, again, as I just said, November 1st, 2022, we had massive central bank intervention, and I'm talking $1.5 trillion according to Matt King of Citibank. And then we had the Silicon Valley backstop of March 2023. And then we had the October low, and then November 1st, right here. November 1st, we got above this trend line. So I'm using trend lines and I'm using a ratio chart. And this was gold. It popped above, came back in, and then this was it. March, everybody knows, in March of 2024, gold took off and has not looked back. Silver took off actually in April. And I also really have other tools for this analysis. But the point is, this is a trend, and then it's on a monthly, because you're talking monthly. It's not RSI. There's no RSI for me. Even though this would come in and kind of digest sideways, it would correct in time. It would break out again. It would come back shallow, pull back. Here's a 10-month EMA breakout. I thought it was going to come back in a little bit. It did not. It keeps going. So are we extended? Yes. Is this a very extended, like this is 2011, 2012 timeframe? Yes, it's extended. But then I look at my bullish percent gold index, which is, because you're asking about miners. And this is another little funky chart, but long story short, we were extremely oversold back in this October, November timeframe of 2023. And again, it just keeps giving. Once this gets and stays above the 80, this is an oscillator, zero. It's not gone below zero since 2015. And it got up to 100 back in August of 2021. Those are the only two times it's hit an extreme. But what it does is it stays above, and it's really bullish. So bullish percent index for gold miners is hot fire flames. This is not in any way, shape, or form falling. And this, by the way, underneath is kind of GDX. You can see this with Bollinger Bands. You can see gold. Silver's a little bit choppier. But the point is, I use different tools than RSI. This one gives me more confidence of when gold is overbought, oversold. The other one for miners, this is one that tells me I have really no problem with this trend, except it's very extended. And then I can go on a daily time frame and look at continuous contract. That's on a daily. I can see this trend. I can see this wedge. I can see that we fell and we've gotten back up into the underside of the wedge. So daily, intermarket analysis, monthly, I'm looking at it all. But ultimately, I look at this. So here is gold miners. gorgeous scoop pattern. And this is GDX on a weekly. This is a lot of motion on a daily, which is why I pull back in time. And you'll see stochastics, very, very bid and no RSI. And it's very, very bid. And even if it comes back in, it's not bearish. I mean, this is a massive candle back here in April when we had this big reversal in the trade war tariffs. But no time has this come back and closed below the 10-week EMA. You've got a beautiful scoop pattern. You have a fundamental picture of miners are crushing it. And I wrote about this last spring of 2024, where it was like the first inning, maybe the second inning. I quoted actually Rick Rule about that, but I've done enough research on this space and I've had such good traders who are so much in the weeds with the miners that they know the fundamental picture of each and every one. And generally speaking, oil prices have fallen and 40% of the operating budget is energy cost for these miners. The underlying has risen. It's the best performing asset this year and last year. So when you have the underlying rising up, you have their biggest cost center falling, you know miners are going to crush it. So yeah, to me, there's nothing bearish about that chart. Nothing. Long story to get to your answer, I don't use RSI.
Join Samantha and Hans at the next Macro to Micro Options Power Hour, held each Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration is free. Scan this QR code or click on the link in the description. Watch the full Options Macro to Micro Power Hour episode by clicking on the video here and subscribe to LaDucTrading YouTube channel for more content.